YNW Melly's legal battle deepens. A viral video stirs new questions. Things haven't been easy for YNW Melly. After nearly 6 years behind bars, he's still entangled in a double murder trial that shows no signs of letting up. And now, just as his bond hearing gains traction, an old interview clip has reappeared, and it's blowing up online. In the footage, he talks about his alter ego, Melvin. "When the night hits, he really come," he says. "Once you play with Melly too, far Melvin don't like that. Melvin on your..." And just like that, fans began dissecting every second. What might sound like just another cryptic Melly moment is being viewed by many as something far deeper. A growing number of fans believe he may have unintentionally revealed too much. The clip, which is only a piece of a longer segment, is now being examined closely, with some claiming it could reshape how the entire case is interpreted. Courtroom behavior raises eyebrows, sparks emotions. No real analysis of this trial would be complete without considering Melly's recent actions in court. On the third day, he was seen sitting quietly, eyes shut, hands folded, seemingly praying. Then, he opened his eyes and blew kisses to the gallery. That's when Juvie's mother, Leandre Phillips, took notice, and she wasn't impressed. Speaking with NBC Miami, she said, "He did it more than once. That wasn't his first time. I left the courtroom. I don't know what he's praying for. You're sitting there like nothing matters, smiling every time I walk in. This isn't the moment for that. It's sad. This case is serious." Adding, "To the controversy, Melly has been spotted laughing and sharing jokes with his lawyer, behavior that some say doesn't match the gravity of what's at stake. In a peculiar moment caught on video, the rapper locked eyes with someone in the gallery, repeating the same phrase repeatedly while visibly growing agitated. Naturally, this sparked a wide range of reactions online. Many viewers felt Melly appeared indifferent to the fact that he's facing the death penalty, while others argued that since he's been behind bars since early 2019, this kind of behavior isn't entirely surprising. Yet, the situation feels all the more bizarre considering that on the trial's opening day, the rapper was seen wiping away tears during a courtroom showing of footage featuring his friends. Whatever the truth may be, Melly surely knows that. Testimony from medical examiners and Sergeant Williams back up law enforcement's initial claim. Melly was the one who shot both men. The looming threat of the death penalty is already overwhelming, but it gets more complicated. Thanks to Governor Ron DeSantis' recent ruling, a death sentence no longer requires unanimity. Only 8 of the 12 jurors need to recommend it for the sentence to be imposed. If convicted, YNW Melly could become one of the first to face the consequences of this new law. A juror site visit will likely have a huge impact on how they ultimately view the case. To recap some jaw-dropping facts revealed so far, Melly wasn't in the car with Bortland when he drove to the hospital alongside Sackchaser and Juvie, but phone records show all 4 men were together roughly 15 minutes prior. There's more. The prosecution alleges Melly contacted Fredo Bang to pick him up, and Felicia Holmes's testimony might prove crucial, as it allowed Melly's lawyers to request a mistrial, a move that could offer him an important advantage if he chooses to appeal, even if found guilty. There's a real chance the Florida Supreme Court might grant a mistrial, potentially giving the rapper a fresh opportunity to clear his name. We also know that Melly had some tension with Sackchaser just months before the killing. Meanwhile, a phone conversation with his mother revealed Melly asking for a .40 caliber gun, the exact weapon used in the shootings. Initially, the prosecution struggled to pinpoint a clear motive, even bringing in Detective Danny Polo in an attempt to paint this as a gang-related crime. But, as mentioned earlier, proving motive isn't a legal necessity here. The combined testimonies of medical examiners and Sergeant Williams align closely with the forensic evidence first uncovered back in February 2019. However, one crucial detail remains. Florida law enforcement has yet to locate the murder weapon, a gap that keeps the prosecution from locking down an airtight case. All these facts have surfaced in court in recent weeks, but some events that unfolded before the trial might offer additional insight. 2 key points stand out. First, what YNW Bortland has been up to in recent years, and second, a wrongful death lawsuit that could finally provide the prosecution the motive it has long sought. Back in April 2020, Melly contracted COVID-19 and requested house arrest, a request that was denied. Yet, a month later, Bortland was granted house arrest despite facing serious charges, including 2 counts of accessory after the fact and first-degree murder. This raised eyebrows. According to Bortland's lawyer, while Bortland was allowed house arrest, Melly remained incarcerated, a situation that has persisted ever since. Essentially, Bortland has enjoyed relative freedom while Melly remains locked up. In January 2023, reports surfaced that Bortland told law enforcement he was just the driver. Bortland's trial is set for October, giving prosecutors ample time to strengthen their case against Melly, a development that could also aid. Bortland's defense. Testimony so far has made clear that only one man, wielding a single gun, fired at both Sackchaser and Juvie. What other revelations October might bring remains to be seen. This unfolding drama also fuels an intriguing dynamic between Melly and Bortland. What if Melly's defense shifts strategy to cast more blame on Bortland? What if Melly's defense starts placing more of the blame on Bortland? Or worse, what if Bortland strikes a deal that throws Melly under the bus? If these men are willing to go so far as staging a drive-by shooting to cover their tracks, then the fight for freedom could get even more ruthless. There's also a very real chance that Melly has grown bitter toward Bortland over the years, especially since his time in prison has been far from easy. The rapper has openly shared the harsh realities of his incarceration, including having his phone privileges revoked for minor offenses. But it goes deeper than that. Melly has spoken candidly about fearing for his life behind bars. In an Instagram post detailing the struggles he faces daily, he wrote, "I have been threatened by deputies, lieutenants, and sergeants who say they'll hide me from the world and threaten to beat my ass every day. And if I tell my lawyers, they will lie and say I hit them first." Sergeant Anthony Kidd and Lieutenant Jean-Baptiste's names come up in Melly's accusations. He says, "I have literally been hidden from the world," and fears the next step could be physical violence, like the beatings many inmates suffer daily at Broward County's main jail. On the surface, it's easy to understand why Melly feels resentful, especially considering how much easier Bortland's last few years behind bars have been. This tension makes it all the more intriguing to watch how their relationship will unfold during their trials. The second major point involves the wrongful death lawsuit filed by the families of Sackchaser and Juvie against Melly and Bortland in October 2020. The suit alleges that while the 4 men stood to earn a large sum of money, they couldn't agree on how to split it. Money disputes have long been a common motive in crimes, and one of the lawyers involved didn't hesitate to call it out. The fewer people there are to divide the money, the bigger the share for those left standing, a claim echoed by Juvie's father. He revealed the conflict arose from plans to sell the YNW brand for marketing and licensing. Melly and Sackchaser were expected to earn $200,000 each, while Juvie was slated to receive $100,000 from a $500,000 deal. Juvie's father has never doubted Melly's guilt. "From day one, I believed Melly was responsible for my son's death on October 26th, he said. He recalled talking to Melly on FaceTime from Cortland and feeling shocked by the rapper's reaction. They showed no remorse. They didn't act like they were grieving or like they'd lost a best friend. In my opinion, they were in the best spirits. They never came to town, nor did they attend my son's funeral. If these allegations are true, if a deal was really on the table, it completely changes the story between these 4 men. They weren't just lifelong friends, they were business partners locked in a major dispute over their brand and a large sum of money. But for now, this wrongful death lawsuit remains separate from the ongoing trial. Currently, the prosecution is piecing together what happened during the roughly 1 hour between the 4 men leaving the recording studio and Bortland arriving at the hospital in October 2018. Expert testimony and other evidence presented in court have painted a chilling picture. Melly could be a cold-blooded killer who murdered 2 of his closest friends over money. Months after Sackchaser and Juvie's deaths, a documentary explored Melly's relationship with them. He called Juvie his day one and said, "We got the same brain. Me and all my guys had the same dream growing up." But somewhere along the way, did Melly decide his dream was more important than theirs? And if so, was that reason enough to kill? The rest of the trial will likely uncover even more startling revelations about YNW Melly. But for now, the outcome remains uncertain. This case, a shocking double murder in Miramar, has 2 people behind bars, including a South Florida rapper known for singing a popular murder-themed song. Jamal Maurice Demons, aka YNW Melly, was charged with killing his 2 closest friends, Anthony Williams, YNW Sack Chaser, and Christopher Thomas, YNW Juvie. On February 13th, when he turned himself in, Miramar police tweeted, "Jamal Demons, aka YNW Melly, and Cortland Henry have been arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The victims, Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr., were killed on October 26, 2018. The investigation, supported by forensic evidence, concluded Demons shot and killed them. Williams and Thomas Jr. were the victims, and authorities say Demons and Henry staged the scene to look like a drive-by shooting. Melly has spent nearly 4 years in jail awaiting trial. Now, as the case nears its end, the prosecution has unveiled shocking evidence that casts Melly in a very negative light, strengthening the case against him. One of the most damaging pieces of evidence was uncovered on Melly's Instagram account. While rappers sometimes inadvertently incriminate themselves online, Melly may have just done the same, with a single Instagram direct message. During the prosecution's opening statements, it was revealed that Melly sent a telling DM to fellow rapper Peasy Gambino. Peasy had reached out the morning of the shooting to check if Melly was okay. 1. The individual specifically sent a message saying, and I'll quote it exactly, "Yo, homie, you good?" YNW Melly's chilling reply may prove pivotal in the case. The rapper's response appears to incriminate him, as if he confessed to the murder himself. The prosecutor revealed Melly's reply, "I did that." Did this message really mean Melly admitted to killing his 2 best friends, people he grew up with? It's crucial to remember Melly is facing the death penalty. The prosecution must prove beyond reasonable doubt that this Instagram message was an actual confession. The first challenge is the context of the text. It's possible the rappers were talking about something else entirely, but the prosecution dismissed that, arguing the only logical subject was the shooting earlier that day. Melly had been bombarded with messages that morning, all asking about the tragic incident. Context matters. In this case, someone was reaching out to check if Melly was okay after he was tagged in multiple posts about the drive-by shooting. According to the prosecutor, since everyone in Melly's DMs was asking about that incident, it's the only reasonable thing Melly could be responding to. The defense, however, offered a strong counter-argument. One detail in the text might have saved Melly's case: autocorrect. The way that was spelled in the message was different from how Melly usually types it. The defense attorney asked, "Would you tell the jury how he usually spells that?" According to Melly's lawyer, every other text message the prosecution presented showed a different spelling, suggesting the message wasn't a straightforward confession. Melly consistently spelled the word that as D-A-T. In fact, throughout the 19 pages of texts reviewed, Melly never spelled it the usual way, T-H-A-T, but always as D-A-T. This raised some important questions. Was someone else using Melly's phone? Was it even his phone at all? Or did his friends have access to it too? More information came to light while investigating these possibilities. The prosecution confirmed that the phone in question indeed belonged to Melly. Detectives discovered photos of a Western Union receipt saved on the device, which clearly showed Melly's name and phone number. This linked the phone number directly to him. The receipt showed the name Jamal Diant with an address at 604 9th Avenue Beach 4, zip code 32962, USA, along with a phone number ending in 772-71397. However, a surprising twist came during the trial, when Melly's friend Adrian Davis, who had been with the group at the studio, took the stand. He revealed that the morning after they heard their friends had been shot and killed, everyone scrambled to find their phones, except Melly couldn't locate his. "Did anyone have trouble finding their phone?" the lawyer asked. "Yes," Davis replied. "Jamal did." This raised a major question. Where had Melly's phone been? If Melly didn't have his phone when the incriminating message was sent, then who did? Davis further disclosed that multiple people often shared Melly's phone. It was common for the crew to borrow each other's devices. "We all use this phone sometimes," he said. "We all use each other's phones. So where exactly was Melly's phone that day?" The prosecution provided an answer. Using cell phone data, detectives tracked the phone's movements that morning. CCTV footage confirmed Melly was holding his phone as he left the studio. The group left in 2 cars. The phones in the red Mitsubishi were tracked heading towards Sunset Lakes, while the phones in the gray Jeep took a different route. To verify the data's accuracy, the prosecution highlighted that Melly and Sack Chaser's phones were the same model, and both used identical cell phone plans. This meant their phones connected to the same cell towers, making the tracking reliable. Thus, the paths shown by the data matched the movements of the 2 cars that morning. The prosecution aimed to prove that the phones in both vehicles were comparable by analyzing their data. By cross-referencing information from the 2 cell phones and tracking their respective cars, detectives mapped the Jeep's route. It traveled up Pines Boulevard before heading west toward the outskirts of the Everglades, a remote and sparsely populated area, according to the prosecution. The Jeep then turned south onto Pembroke Road. This is where the prosecution dropped a startling revelation. Pembroke Road ends at a trash facility with no homes nearby. Adding to the mystery, there were no surveillance cameras in that location to provide visual confirmation of the car's presence. The area lacked streetlights and had no passers-by, making it an ideal, isolated spot for committing the murders. The prosecution emphasized that no other cell phones were detected near Pembroke Road that morning, indicating the 4 rappers were alone at the scene. The state intends to present evidence proving the phone's presence at the crime site, reinforcing that no one else was around at 4 a.m. Adding to the case, the prosecution revealed that Melly made a FaceTime call to his then-girlfriend, Mariah Hamilton, around that time. Mariah's mother, who was also home, confirmed the call. She was woken up by Mariah's startled scream and went to check on her. Shortly after ending the call, Melly sent a location pin at 4:42 a.m. to Frederick Given, aka Fredo Bang, a rapper from Louisiana. This raises questions. Was Melly's friend lying under oath, or was the cell tower data inaccurate? On the stand, Adrian Davis shared more details about that morning after they left the studio. He testified that Melly was with them at the house. Surveillance footage showed Melly entering the gray Jeep, while Davis left in the red Mitsubishi. The Jeep took a detour all the way to Pembroke Road and the Mitsubishi headed to Sunset Lakes. How did Melly end up at the house in Sunset Lakes with those in the red Mitsubishi? According to Davis, their vehicle stopped along the way, and Melly switched cars. When asked if he was awakened before reaching the house, Davis said yes. They pulled over, Melly got into their car, but he was asleep and didn't recall where exactly the stop happened. One thing Davis was certain about: when they finally arrived at the house, Melly was with them. He confirmed that Melly was there when they received the devastating news about their friends being shot and killed. While this seemed to give Melly an alibi, the story took a twist when another crew member stepped up to testify. Trayvon Glass, YNW Juvy's producer. Initially, the defense pushed back against Trayvon testifying, pointing out that he had been evading the police for years and was known for heavy marijuana use. Plus, he was currently out on bail and seemed somewhat pressured to appear in court. But what Trayvon revealed under oath could seriously unravel Melly's supposed alibi and shift the whole narrative. According to Trayvon's testimony, when they arrived at Melly's house in the red Jeep, the same people who got into the car at the studio were still with them. He was clear. Melly was not with them at the house, nor were they all together when news of the alleged drive-by shooting broke. Meanwhile, 2 other passengers from the red Mitsubishi gave conflicting testimonies in court. So the big question is, who was lying under oath? With all this contradictory evidence, the jury definitely has a tough job ahead of them. Although Melly seemed to have self-incriminated with that Instagram message, the defense has managed to cast some doubt that might sway the jury. Still, much of the evidence, especially the cell phone data, places Melly at the crime scene. Beyond that, several people connected to the case have used social media to suggest Melly was involved in the murders, or at least entangled in the legal battle. YNW. Melly seemed to lack a father figure during his early years, and his involvement with the Bloods gang soon led him down a path of criminal activity. At just 16 years old, he was arrested for shooting at a group of students near Vero Beach High School. This incident resulted in convictions for aggravated battery, discharging a firearm in public, and 2 counts of aggravated assault. He served several months in jail before being released on probation. The following year, Melly violated his probation and was held in custody until March 2018. Shortly after his release, he was arrested again in Fort Myers for possession of marijuana, drug paraphernalia, weapons, and ammunition. He was released on bond but was arrested once more in January 2019 for marijuana possession. The next month, Melly faced charges that would drastically change his life. On February 12, 2019, news broke that the up-and-coming Florida rapper had been arrested in connection with a double murder. Police alleged that he and another man staged the crime scene to make it appear as a drive-by shooting. Now both men are behind bars, awaiting trial. 2 of YNW Melly's closest friends, Anthony Williams, alias YNW Sackchaser, and Christopher Thomas, alias YNW Juvie, aged 21 and 19 respectively, were tragically murdered on October 21, 2018. Initially, it was widely believed to be a drive-by shooting, especially since YNW Bortland, a friend of the victims, drove them to the hospital in a Jeep Compass after the incident. However, after months of investigation, law enforcement concluded that Jamal Demons, YNW Melly, was responsible for the murders, with Bortland allegedly helping to cover up the crime. Both men were arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The official police statement read, Jamal Demons, aka YNW Melly, and Cortland Henry have been arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The victims, Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr., were killed on October 26, 2018. The investigation, supported by forensic evidence, has concluded that Demons shot and killed Williams and Thomas Jr., and that Demons and Henry staged the crime scene to resemble a drive-by shooting. Melly quickly addressed his fans on Instagram, announcing he would be turning himself in and denying all allegations against himself and YNW Bortland. In a now-deleted post, he wrote, "To all my fans and supporters, no, I did not get locked up in Washington, but I am turning myself in today. I want you guys to know I love you and appreciate every single one of y'all. A couple months ago, I lost my 2 brothers to violence, and now the system wants to find justice. Unfortunately, a lot of rumors and lies are being spread, but no worries. God is with me and my brother YNW Bortland, and we want you all to remember. It's a YNW family. I love you. YNW Sackchaser and YNW Juvie." The state of Florida has also announced its intent to seek capital punishment against Melly, as prosecutors believe they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he murdered his 2 friends. According to court documents, prosecutors argued that the murders were especially heinous, atrocious, and cruel, and that the killings were carried out in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner. It's important to note that Florida is one of the 30 states in the U.S. where capital punishment is still legal. Police statements reveal that YNW Bortland told officers he and the 2 victims had just finished a late-night studio session when a car suddenly pulled up alongside his vehicle and opened fire as he was exiting the freeway. He then drove to the emergency room in the early morning hours, seeking help for his 2 friends, who he claimed had been shot in a drive-by shooting. Initial investigations that led to the arrest of Melly and Bortland uncovered shocking details. Law enforcement officials stated they had forensic evidence indicating that Demon was the one who pulled the trigger. Their findings showed that neither victim was shot from outside the vehicle, but rather from inside the car, effectively disproving the drive-by shooting claim. Investigators also confirmed that there were 8 bullet holes along the right side of the vehicle, where Sackchaser and Juvie had been sitting that night. Inside the car, they found a shell casing, along with 8 matching casings discovered at a separate location. Authorities believe Melly and Bortland fired shots there to stage the scene as a drive-by shooting. Further analysis suggested that the initial shot came from inside the car, specifically from the left rear passenger side. CCTV footage showing the group leaving the studio that night helped investigators determine that Melly had been sitting in that exact spot. Second, autopsy evidence revealed that both victims sustained gunshot wounds to their heads that traveled from left to right. This directly contradicted Bortland's statements and did not support the claim of a drive-by shooting from the right side of the vehicle. Additionally, police alleged that Melly and Bortland drove around with the bodies of the 2 victims for some time after they had been shot, before eventually heading to the hospital. Interestingly, Bortland later told police that Melly had been in the same car with them initially, but then switched to another vehicle. According to authorities, they had evidence to prove that Authorities alleged that Melly murdered his friends for financial gain. After his arrest, his lawyers swiftly defended him, stating, "We disagree with the assertions made in the notice and look forward to disproving the charges." Melly's legal team further proclaimed his innocence, emphasizing that no murder weapon had been recovered, no witnesses had come forward, no DNA evidence linked him to the crime, and there was no clear motive. Hours after news of Melly's arrest broke, thousands of netizens hastily connected the arrest to the rapper's breakout. 2017 hit, "Murder on My Mind," a song released a full 18 months before Sackchaser and Juvie were killed. The track combines themes of punishing loneliness with vivid and brutal descriptions of murder. The record was released while Melly was still in prison, serving a 1-year sentence after being involved in a shootout near his high school in Vero Beach, Florida. Shortly after his release in 2017, he was sent back to jail for violating probation. According to Melly, although prosecutors charged him with several minor infractions, his return to jail largely hinged on the state attorney reading the second verse of "Murder on My Mind" aloud in court. His lawyers believed that if using the song worked against him for minor offenses, then it would certainly be leveraged again during his murder trial. Now that he's on trial for double homicide, the defense anticipates that the prosecution will attempt to use the same song and lyrics in the same manner for the above-referenced case, a court document read, apart from seeking to have the song excluded force. According to eyewitness testimony, Demons and Bortland were part of a group of men standing near a street when tensions escalated. The group reportedly threw a bottle at a passing vehicle, which ignited a dangerous chain of events. In retaliation, the occupants of the car opened fire on the group. During this chaotic moment, one of the men in Demon's group allegedly returned fire. Tragically, Deputy Gary Chambliss, a law enforcement officer standing approximately 170 yards away from the scene, was struck by a stray bullet. The deputy was not involved in the initial conflict, but became an unintended victim of the gunfire exchange. This incident further complicated the rapper's legal troubles and brought additional scrutiny to his activities. The shooting of Deputy Chambliss prompted an investigation that added another layer to the already high-profile case surrounding YNW Melly and his associates. This event underscored the dangerous environment surrounding the rapper's circle and heightened concerns about violence tied to their actions.